Coming up this afternoon, leader for Movement for Change joins calls for the privatization of ECG as government commences negotiations with private entities to take over bill calculation and debt collection for the electricity company of Ghana amidst the energy crisis.
Government has tried to run ECG for many years. It has not worked. It is not going to work.
Meanwhile, some players in the space are opposed to privatization of ECG's operations.
Overarching challenge there is finance. And finance is in two sides. There's finance to run and there's finance to earn.
Also this afternoon now, Nomo reunited with her family after she was allegedly married off to the Gov't of Nungwa.
Thus, the child will be reunited with her family today, 18th April 2024, after the parents have signed a bond.
We're live in that community for some reactions. Also, beware of the floods as the rain set in because government says it is helpless in fixing the perennial problem.
We don't have all the resources. We have to make a case for the resources. We continue to make a case for the resources.
We'll also tell you about the Saglemi Housing Project as government assures transparency and diligence as it paves way for the private sector to take over project, hinting more than $100 million is required to make the place habitable. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X Spaces at JoyNews on TV. My personal handle is @Denana Aisha. Please do stay for details. Government has commenced negotiations with private entities to take over bill calculation and debt collection for the electricity company of Ghana amidst the energy crisis. This move comes as authorities strive to prevent the collapse of the energy sector and maintain the cash flow system, given that over 30% of energy losses are attributed to non-collection of debt and power theft. However, some players in the space are opposed to the privatization of ECG.
All 8 guests unanimously agree that the primary challenges contributing to the country's unstable energy situation were revenue mobilization and difficulties in procuring and distributing fuel efficiently.
Energy sector faced 2 main challenges arising from forces external to the sector. And these were, 1, lack of inadequate and secure quantities of reasonably priced fuel for power generation, and the lack of adequate public funds to finance the sector's investments requirements. We need to take another look at the financing.
I don't have a problem.
I don't think we've been very prudent with the financing of the ECG. Okay. There have been instances when monies have been diverted for other purposes. And so we need to critically look at it. We are managing ECG financing like a chop bar type of accounting.
But the overarching challenge there is finance. And finance is in two sides. There's finance to run and there's finance to earn. I would have liked a situation where we are today with all the institutions. Let's do an audit on all of them.
Even the former Deputy Energy Minister, Andrew Ejapamesa, agrees with them.
Truth be told, we've had some maintenance issues, some of which have been resolved. Some of it is ongoing, and we had some challenges with fuel, which on a daily basis, depending on what is available, then determines.
However, he maintains that the primary issue lies in fuel procurement, attributing the erratic power problem to the ECG, which is currently grappling with overloaded transformers.
So the fuel being expensive is true, but I still don't see where that personal interest arises. The outages numbers, right? 85% of it is ECG problem.
Okay.
It's not grid co. It's not the generation problem. That's only about 15% per data that I have seen. So you see clearly that if you are relying on ECG system for a certain kind of industry that requires power 24 hours, tendency for you to want to go, especially if you are a bulk consumer, to go directly to get from the generator is high.
Ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jenapo, strongly believes that if the current situation persists, the energy sector is headed towards collapse.
IPP is a little over 1 billion. Fuel-related expenditure, almost 800 million. So today, if you were to flush out the energy sector debts and bring the books to a healthy path, you will need about $1.8 billion in order to deal with energy sector-related debts. And so the bills are compounding and it's threatening the sector. Look, my worry is that if we continue on this trajectory, in 1 year time, the sector will collapse.
Michael Nyantichi, General Secretary of the Public Utilities Workers Union, contends that over the past few years, the ECG has made efforts to enhance its revenue collection. However, he alleges that both the VRA and GRICO have collaborated to lure away some of their major dependable customers who typically pay for their electricity they use, thus disrupting their revenue targets.
ECG puts in a lot of effort, and everybody who wants to be objective can attest that for the past almost 2 years, the effort has been made to enhance the revenue. Then there are also this subtle thing being played out between GRICO and VRA, where because of some loophole in the law, some key customers of ECG are being poached. And these were customers who could pay easily and contribute towards the cash waterfall. But ECG is losing these customers. GRICO, together with VRA, is giving them some form of rebates.
Well, some residents in the Ashanti region have expressed mixed reactions towards the relocation and renaming of the Ameri power plant. President Akufo-Addo this week commissioned the now Kumasi 1 thermal power plant at Aumaso in Kumasi. Respondents who spoke to Joy News are enthused and trusting the government to deliver on its promise of ensuring reliability and sustainability of power of the commissioning of the power plant. Some also criticized government for diverting attention from critical infrastructural deficits in the region.
It's a very huge plan that is going to help we the people in Ashanti to have light. But what the energy minister said, I don't totally agree with him, because we have so many other things to attend to, especially our roads, our health sector, our agriculture sector. You see the way the Galamsey menace, all these things they have, MPP have to tackle. But what do we see? I know they are doing their best, but their best I don't think is much enough. So the minister should come again. What he said initially, I agree with him, but what he said that this is a big project and no government who has ever come to power has done this before. I don't agree with them. I learned that it was Mahama who started all this. And government too is a continuous process. So if Mahama started and the Akufo-Addo has completed, I think it's the right way. It is the right way, in the right direction.
Many few years, young say, I may be a plant to see that. I can't we are and material once in a while. We didn't issue who we are. Yanti be said, oh, can you do it? But hydrogen for them. You said.
Well, leader for the Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Chairmantain, has joined calls for the privatization of Electricity Company of Ghana. There's been intense pressure on government to privatize ECG after the continuous intermittent power cuts in parts of the country, which has led to many demanding for a load-shedding timetable to plan their lives. Alan Chairmantain says the running of ECG by government has never worked in the past and will never work even now.
The challenges with the power supply comes from three different components of the energy sector. One, generation, two, transmission, and three, distribution. Now, so if you look at generation, for example, now government has taken on the responsibility, unfortunately, that they have to borrow money to install generation infrastructure.
Do you agree with those who say ECG should be privatized?
Absolutely, because it's the same principle. Government has tried to run ECG for many years. It has not worked. It is not going to work. Right now, we are having challenges also because our transmission infrastructure is obsolete. So it's not just the distribution ECG, it's also the transmission. We need investment in it. Government does not have the money to invest in new transmission infrastructure. So it only is common sense.
So the way to
go is to ask the private sector
to step in. The Movement for Change leader says he will focus on reducing taxes to help expand businesses when he becomes president. He says countries like France and Japan, who built their states on industrialization, did not overburden their citizens with direct taxes, explaining he couldn't effect that change whilst NPP Minister for Trade because the Finance Minister was the sole decision maker. Alan Chermantin, who believes reducing taxes is the way to go, says he will have the free hand to operate when he becomes the president.
I feel that the way we've structured our economy with high taxes, it would always create a problem in terms of how competitive we are. But you also know that if you have high taxes, then we have high inflation. Because the costs of production, when you have high taxes, means that the cost of production will be high. If you have high interest rates, it means that the cost of production will be high. If your cost of production is high, you pass it on to your consumers, so it will reflect in inflation, which is the level of prices in the economy. So everything is interrelated. If you don't have a stable currency, your inflation would also go up. Because if right now, as we see, if the cedi depreciates and you are importing goods, it means that you need more cedis to a dollar. And once that happens, then when you import goods, it means that you have to reflect the depreciation of the cedi in your price.
Government says Na Okoromo, the teenage girl who was widely speculated to have been married off to 63-year-old Bobulomo of Nungwa, Numo Bokete-Lawe III, was reunited with her family yesterday. Addressing the press on latest findings, Minister-designate for Gender, Dakwah Newman, established she is 15 years old and medical checks indicates she is intact. Kenneth JC has more.
Gender Minister Designate Dakwah Newman said Na Okoromo will be released to her family by the close of today, the 18th of April 2024, after the family was made to sign a bond.
I would like you all to know that the medical assessment on the child, it indicates that she's not pregnant and she has no immediate health concerns. Na Okoromo's date of birth, from records at her creche and her primary schools she attended, indicates that she's 15 years old, and she was born on the 18th of July, 2008. The child will continue to pursue her education, and the Attorney General has issued an interim report, which is dated 18th April 2024, and has advised that in the best interest of the child, and in accordance with Section 2 and 5 of the Children's Act, the child should be released to her parents pending their complete review of the docket. Thus, the child will be reunited with her family today, 18th April 2024, after the parents have signed a bond.
Chieftaincy Minister Stephen Asamoah Boateng also confirmed that 15-year-old Na Kromo was never married to Gbagbu Wulomo, per their investigations.
She wasn't married to the Gbagbu Wulomo. It's a ritual which she has been initiated into it at age 6, and so she was focused on it. All they did was to elevate her status to a queen mother of that deity. So there was no marriage.
Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuayabua says the Attorney General's office is still reviewing the docket of this case and no conclusion has been reached yet.
Marriage or not, we have not come to any conclusion on that issue yet. So the officers in the ministry are reviewing the docket, and when we come to any conclusion on that issue, it will be made known to the public.
From the Ministry of Information, Kenneth Jesse for JoyNews.
Motorists and commuters using about 10 routes around the Swami roundabout in Kumasi are to suffer intense traffic congestion as a result of the construction of the interchange. Contractors and engineers on the Swami Interchange project have instituted a traffic management plan in the 2 phases of the project, but they are seeking public cooperation in the inconvenience caused by the traffic diversion. Clinton Yabua has more.
The government, acting through the Ministry of Road and Highways, has signed a contract with Mesa Rango Construction Company Limited to execute the design and construction of the Swami Interchange and Local Road Component Project. Phase 1, which is the construction of a 4-tier interchange at Swami Roundabout, is in the preliminary stage, estimated to be completed in 36 months. The construction of an overpass at Krofrom Junction, construction of an underpass at Abripo Junction, and improvement of the Western Bypass Road to allow for easy movement are in the preliminary stage. Phase 2 is 15% completed and will see the improvement of 14.58 kilometers of existing local roads and widening of the Offensu Road into a 2x3-lane dual carriageway. Road users within Swami, Magazine, Abripo Junction, Kejitia, Makro, Adwato, Bantama, Sofoline, Racecourse and Tafo have been alerted of difficulties in plying their roads. Resident engineer of the Associated Consultant Limited, Engineer Dennis Kusi-Boateng, is asking residents and users for positive cooperation.
We've had a lot of challenges, and first it has to do with relocation of utilities, relocation of water lines, relocation of telecom, relocation of power lines, electricity lines, and those things. And lastly, demolition or paying a compensation to property affected person. All these things are by law and they are very slow. So we will put in place a traffic diversion, which is normally what we do immediately when we start the project. We will be pleading with you and asking for your cooperation, understanding all the people who live in Kumasi, those who commute in and around the Swami roundabout, that there's going to be a traffic diversion. We are aware of all the burden and the inconvenience that is likely to create for all pedestrians, drivers, and all the people who use the place. And we are asking you to bear with us so that we can be able to work and finish the work on time.
To foster a continuous collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, the Department of Urban Roads, acting through the supervision consultant, held a second stakeholders meeting to update them on the progress of work and solicit for their input and cooperation. Deputy Director, Planning and Development at the Department of Urban Roads, Engineer Frank Osei-Sechere, says the forum is to ensure accountability and allow stakeholders to better appreciate the project.
We call something accountability. We receive taxes to undertake such projects. So it is important that from time to time you call the people who you are undertaking the project for, or who you collected the taxes from to undertake the works, to brief them, to let them know, to let them come and see for themselves.
Reporting for JoyNews, my name is Clinton Yabua.
Government is assuring transparency and greater diligence as it opens way for the private sector to take over the Saglemi Housing Project. The project has been entangled in allegations of corruption, with the former Works and Housing Minister Collins Dauda standing trial. Already over $200 million has been spent on it, but at various stages of completion have had some fittings, including burglar-proof material, plumbing works, metal coverings on culverts, among others, at the site either vandalized or stolen. Works and Housing Minister Kojo Ponkroma tells my colleague Elton Broby the government has no intention of spending extra money on the project. The reason the private sector is being courted to come in.
But we are still left with 1,506 buildings at various stages of completion. So Minister Senso Boakye, when he assumed office, started the process of requesting for the $114 million to complete it. And again, Cabinet had an opportunity to consider it, but came to the view that looking at the financial conditions at the time, etc., and the fact that we are moving to a new dimension where we are not using taxpayers' money to finish these buildings.
Right.
Government cannot find an extra $114 million after $196 million has been paid.
To the contractor.
Yeah, to the contractor.
And this 140 was to deal with the 1,500.
And the ancillary infrastructure. So government took a decision to go the private sector route and bring in private sector participants to complete and operationalize it. Now, I've assumed office. We have moved quickly into the issuance of the request for proposals. It's an international expression of interest where we're asking developers from all over the world, including Ghana, who have the technical capacity and the capital to come in and look at what we have and work with us to finish it and operationalize it.
But the minority say they are opposed to this. The NDC MPs believe this effort is just an attempt to hand the project over to persons close to the government. Deputy Ranking Member on the Works and Housing Committee, Andrew Dari Chuiti, says if government cannot mobilize the needed resources to complete the project, it should leave it for a future NDC government to do so.
We will not support the idea of privatizing the Saglemi Housing Project, and we still stand by that. We think that as it stands now, and the state at which the project got to, government just needed to complete the project for the people of Ghana. The magnitude of work that was done there, to the extent that we even had the Works and Housing Minister there, that was Honorable Atachia, indicating that that project was one of the best projects in the country. And that was one of the reasons why he went ahead to recommend payment for the contractor then. Thieves went in there and took off all the fittings. And now government has come to devalue the project and want to sell it to cronies. This is something that we must all stand against.
Honorable, but will this make any difference? The government tells you that they just don't have enough money right now to be able to complete the project on their own. It is for this reason that they want to bring in a private investor.
Government later on did not show interest in the project. And so for us, we think that government doesn't have to sell the project. It won't be long, and this will come to power, and then we'll complete the project and hand it over to Ghanaians. We are not going to support that.
Let's stay a little longer with the Works and Housing Ministry because we are almost entering the rainy season and flooding is going to lead the headlines. But government says the country is too late in fixing the problem. Here's Sector Minister Kojo Ponkroma.
We have a national flood control program which over the years has not been very well funded. So far, the data that we've put together suggests that we've only been tackling 2% of the Greater Accra flooding challenge, only 2%. And that's because of the resource constraint. It is taking the World Bank to come in and assist us as a republic with the Gov't project. And even that one has had problems in implementation, and we're trying to move the contractors and the consultants to be a bit quicker. So that's a challenge on its own. Then you have the coastal protection challenges. Tidal waves are rising. Global warming is leading to rising water levels. We have a lot of our coastal lines that are now being attacked by high waves. I've recently done a tour of the Western Corridor, where there are major challenges. Go to Dansoman, for example. Parts of the road are being eaten up now because of the sea waves. And we have to, again, contend with that and mitigate or build these sea defense projects to protect them. So there are a number of challenges, but in the time and resource constraints that are handed to us, we'll do our best.
And you have the resources to execute them?
We don't have all the resources. We have to make a case for the resources. We continue to make a case for the resources. I'm very grateful to the Minister for Finance, my brother Amin, who understands very much the need to provide and to prioritize some of these things. And we look forward to working together to deliver as much of the solutions.
Secretary General of the Teachers and Education Workers Union of Trade Union Congress, Mark Denchira-Kranchi, has criticized the quality of food being served in senior high schools under the FreeSHS policy, despite acknowledging the policy as one of the best education initiatives in the country. He emphasized the need for an independent review of the FreeSHS program. Speaking at the 13th Quadrennial National Delegates Conference of TEU, he called for an evaluation that will potentially address the shortcomings of the implementation of the program.
Among the key issues raised by the Secretary of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress is the challenges facing the senior high school policy. According to Mark Kranchi, the policy needs non-political review to tackle these challenges. He also raised concerns over the quality of food being served to students in various schools.
We have a few concerns which we believe need to be critically looked at in our pursuit of quality education delivery. The first I want to mention is the free senior high technical school policy. I would say is one of the best policies that have ever been introduced into a country. It has allowed a lot of children to attain secondary and technical education. However, these policies, after 7 years of implementation, need to be reviewed to make it even better. It cannot be business as usual. The need to involve other stakeholders in the provision of facilities is very crucial. Sometimes food becomes an issue in some schools. Parents must be ready and prepared to shoulder some responsibilities to make this policy the best of policies for our Ghanaian child. Sometimes in some of the institutions, you hear L cube. That is to say that breakfast is liquid.
Underfunding and lack of resources are major causes of late diagnosis of autism, and that is in turn undermining the effective treatment of individuals with autism in Ghana. Rehabilitation and therapy centers record high cases of neglect due to the inability of parents and caregivers to foot bills. Director of Evergreen Autism Center and Inclusive Academy, Gov't Echo-Ison, has joined in the call for intensive funding for the consistent treatment of individuals with autism.
Spectrum disorder is a medical condition that impacts an individual's neurological and developmental functioning, affecting their ability to communicate, interact socially, and behave in typical ways. Although the exact cause of autism is yet to be established, research suggests a combination of genetic and environmental factors contribute to its development. Behavioral, speech and language therapy, and medication have been identified to manage certain symptoms of the diseases. However, the director of Evergreen Autism Center and Inclusive Academy, Gov't Echo-Ison, says parents and caretakers are unable to afford bills. The situation impedes the outcome of the treatment of autistic children registered at the center.
So the school itself, the center itself faces challenges, but above all, the parents, because this place, the Inclusive Academy, is a private institution, the parents are not able to maintain their children here because, they come 1 term, 2 terms, and then, they can't continue because they have to care for other siblings. And, the whole thing becomes a failure in the sense that they are not able to sustain that financially.
This year's commemoration of World Autism Acceptance Day is themed The Interplay, Autism and SDGs. The Evergreen Autism Center and Inclusive Academy observed the day with a stakeholders discourse to shed light on the challenges faced by individuals with autism and the importance of inclusive education. The event will foster awareness and understanding of neurodiversity.
The whole of April, month of April, is Autism Month. through training, through workshops, these parents would become aware that, oh, this is what I need to do to maintain that progress that has been acquired in the school. So yeah, that is why we are giving them training. That is why we are organizing periodical workshops.
Deputy Director of the Ashanti Regional Social Welfare, Albert Boateng, is admonishing parents to access funds from social welfare centers for critical educational needs their wards may need.
We collaborate with the Assembly. You know, government have, through the Common Fund, that is 3% of the Common Fund, have been earmarked to assist persons with autism. And so, as an awareness creation day, I want to, inform parents that they can access this fund to assist them to help their children in times of difficulties.
Although caring for an autistic child has proven to be hard, some parents are recounting consolidating medical treatment to improve the conditions of their children.
I think it has been very, very helpful to me because looking at the challenge that my child had before, comparing it currently, it's better. It's not easy taking care of them, I would say, but I would advise that they exercise patience and then send them to the necessary centers for guidance that will help them.
Reporting for JoyNews, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
We're still live on JoyNews Today. Let's take a break. When we return, there's business.
Good afternoon and welcome to the business segment on JoyNews Today with me, Pius Kojobaka. The Petroleum Commission says it is committed to ensuring players in the upstream sector deliver on their mandate without conflict with fisher folks. Inaugurating a committee made up of various stakeholders, including security agencies and fish farmers, the Commission aims to settle territorial disputes which often arises between fish farmers as well as offshore and onshore companies. More in this report.
The need to establish a committee to resolve confrontations between security agencies and fisher folks became necessary when the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council passionately appealed for the implementation of a physical demarcation to avoid conflict at sea. The 9-member committee, which was inaugurated, will have oversight responsibility of resolving disagreements arising from canoe incursions within 500 meters exclusive zone around oil fields. In an address read on behalf of the Chief Executive of Petroleum Commission, the Commission expressed its commitment to ensure players in the upstream petroleum sector deliver their mandates and coexist peacefully with fisher folks.
It is with great pleasure and a sense of purpose that we gather here today to launch the Conflict Prevention and Resolution Committee. As we embark on this journey, we are not just establishing another administrative body. We are laying the foundation for a more harmonious, equitable, and productive environment within which the upstream petroleum industry operates. This has become necessary following repeated allegations and, in some cases, proven incidents of altercations between fishermen and personnel from some security services at sea.
Nana Kweku Boateng is the Director of Local Content and Chairman of the committee.
The call to duty has come at an appropriate time, given the unique challenges facing the petroleum industry, especially in the area of energy transition, in the area whereby the citizenry are making a lot of demands on companies operating in extractive industry. This gathering today, this afternoon, signifies a significant moment in our journey as we strive to tackle the challenges before us. And we are optimistic that through effective collaboration, we will navigate through these challenges.
The Namibian High Commissioner to Ghana is calling on African governments, including Ghana, to domesticate set protocols that would help women thrive in trade activities. According to her, a proper implementation of protocols such as the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement Protocol of Women and Youth in Trade would help in the transformation of economies. She was speaking at the 4th Women in Trade Conference.
The 4th Women in Trade Conference by the Women of Africa Network provided a platform for participants to deliberate on ways to address some of the challenges faced by women in trade. In an interview, Namibian High Commissioner to Ghana, Selma Ashipala Musavi, called on African governments to put in place protocols that would empower and grow trade activities of women.
I think what every government needs to do, we need to domesticate the protocol. We need to take this protocol to the women for them to know that there is an instrument in existence, and also teach them how to take advantage of this protocol. Secondly, I think it is important that the AU Assembly, we must basically periodically gauge the implementation of protocol. Who is lagging behind? Who's making advancement? How can they share their experiences? Everybody must come to the table. So it should not just be an instrument that exists for the sake of existing, but we must be able to measure the implementation, to measure how women are succeeding, how they are using this protocol to trade successfully.
Group Executive of the AFCFTA Policy Network, Louis Affo, also entreated women to actively engage in networking activities in order to be able to broaden their trade endeavors.
So what we're going to do is that we are encouraging the establishment of more women associations in trade. Establishment of more women associations in trade. We are encouraging more participation at the network level. We are also speaking to governments to look at how they can review the women in trade accessibility, especially in terms of funding, in terms of grants, so that women will be able to have access. We used to have women banking. The bank needs to be revamped. It was really supporting grassroots, peripheral basis.
Government was also urged to prioritize advancing funding to women-owned businesses.
That's it for business. I am Pius Kujubaka.
Let's bring you sports now on JoyNews Today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Dr. Prosper Nathan Ogumul continue as head coach of Kumasi Asante Kotoko despite the poor run of form of the Porcupine Warriors. Kumasi Asante Kotoko is just 3 points away from the relegation zone and the ongoing Ghana Premier League campaign. But following a crunch meeting at Manchia on Thursday, Otumfuo said to ask him to continue as the head of the technical department of the club. There's more in this report.
Life patron of Asante Kotoko, Otumfuo Osei II, has decided to meet only Asante Kotoko players separately after this weekend's Premier League game against Samatex. Otumfuo convened a meeting with the playing body, the technical team and the IMC members on Thursday to address issues affecting the club. During the meeting, an opportunity was presented for some players to share their problems and explain what has occasioned their recent poor form. Some of the players spoke, but equipment officer of the club, Issa Amadou, stood up and came to kneel in front of the king, saying the players are not being truthful, so he is charging them to be sincere and tell the king the problems in the playing body. Otumfuo then concluded there were problems in the Kotoko team, but he wouldn't dwell on that for now because of the Samatex game. So he charged them to go back and focus on that game and give their best, and after that, he will meet the players only. The players, together with the technical team, returned to training at Adakojachi in the evening of Thursday after missing 2 days of training due to fans' unrest.
Ghanaian boxing trainer Carl Loko, he says that it is about time boxing trainers focus on building their boxers to be strong enough to compete against the best in the world. According to him, building world champions is through a process and not one-off.
Always we have to understand that to get a world champion,
it's a process. It's a process in the sense that you don't just rush a boxer to the world stage, that you just won a world title, so you are just pushing the boxer to be there. With the example of John Lai that you mentioned, I mean, he turned professional at the age of 18 years, and we have kept pushing him over here in Ghana. And now he's in the ranking. So that tells you that we have gradually pushing him through the mill so that he can get to the championship level in time and matured. So if we, the handlers of John Lai, are doing the right thing as we are doing now, we believe he's one of the potential, boys or talents that can give Ghana a world champion, a world title. Because other people also are doing the same, that they are building their boxes. And this advice will go to my colleagues, all the gyms, and even the managers, because sometimes some of the managers think when they come into the sport, quickly, the boxers should start going out there and fight for them maybe to recruit whatever they have put in. But I'll tell them that it takes a lot. That is why over there in America, in Europe, the difference is you see them becoming a champion more than the way how we have been becoming champion. Because the process is not a short process, it's a long process. So you have to take your time and build the boys to get to the level. You know we have done it before, or I've been part of coaches who have been doing it. And I believe in the patient aspect or the build-up to get there.
That's your sports for now. We do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. We appreciate your time.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Showbiz segment with me, Jacqueline Ansuma Yobwa. Grammy Award-winning Nigerian singer Damini Ogulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, has secured a prestigious slot on Time magazine's highly anticipated 100 Most Influential People of 2024 list. The City Boy hitmaker finds himself among distinguished icons such as American actress Taraji Penda Henson and billionaire Mark Cuban. We have more in this report.
Inclusion in Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People of 2024 underscores his monumental impact on the global music scene. Renowned Benin singer Angelique Kidjo, in a heartfelt tribute on Time's website, hailed Burna for his pivotal role in elevating African music onto the world stage. She emphasized, Burna Boy has made that vision, acceptance of African music, a globe as a multifaceted cultural force. It's worth noting that Burna Boy shares this illustrious spotlight with British-Nigerian luminaries Skepta and Damson Idris. Moreover, this isn't the first time a figure from the African art scene has been recognized by Time magazine, as evidenced by last year's inclusion of 80-year-old Ghanaian artist El Anantwi.
Well, away from that story, Netflix now boasts nearly 270 million subscribers after a strong start to 2024, gaining an additional 9.3 million subscribers in the first quarter. The streaming platform profit has risen thanks to its huge advertising sector, although a recent change has left investors uncertain about future growth tracking. Now, the results announced yesterday show that Netflix continues to build on last year's momentum. As a wrap for the Showbiz segments with me, Jacqueline Ansuma Yebwa. Aisha?
And thanks so much for bringing us Showbiz. So you say what, Burna Boy has been named the
sexiest
well,
he's been named the sexiest man. And also talking about the fact that he's now among the world's most influential 100 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Thanks for bringing us Showbiz. That'll be it for the bulletin this afternoon. My name is Aisha. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 2.